Diamond versus hydraulic press. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Right now, you're getting a rush of dopamine. Can you feel it? It's the chemical of anticipation because you're expecting a reward. You want to see what happens to the diamond. Don't worry, I'm going to show you what happens to the diamond in a bit. But first, let's go back to that feeling. Because isn't that the reason why you waste hours scrolling through TikTok? You cannot stay focused for long periods of time, and you lack the motivation to work on the challenging things that would actually really fulfill you. Because dopamine tells you, just one more. And that's where the idea of dopamine detoxing comes in. A popular trend where you cut out the fun stuff that spikes your dopamine. And supposedly it resets your brain and you become a productivity machine. But is it really effective or just another fad? I decided to test it out myself for 7 days and also took a brain scan before and after it to see how it would affect my brain. And the results were surprising.
That's remarkable. You can't do that in 7 days.
The rules are simple. No media consumption, which means no podcasts, no YouTube videos, no Netflix. Books are allowed. No junk food or sugar, and no flippy floppy the bing bong. And so it started.
It's day one, just woke up. I gotta check my phone. Gotta put this phone away in the closet. So during this dopamine fast, I also want to get back to my ideal daily routine. Starts off with 7:30, getting up and immediately making my bed, then filling up my bottle and drinking a liter of water while meditating outside in the sun. Get that vitamin D early on. Next up, I should... No. Journal. I'm gonna journal. 20 minutes or so, and then 9 a.m. is when I sit down and get to work. That would be the case if I hadn't snoozed for 45 minutes. Damn it. Before starting the fast, I had a really hard time focusing because of all the input I was taking in. But how had it affected my brain? So, getting a brain scan, my brain high on dopamine before the 7-day detox. This $13,000 brain scanner gives you insights into your ability to focus, anxiety levels, how well you process information, and just in general, if you have a brain, by measuring your brain's activity while putting you through different tests. 7 mistakes. Is that high? Last time it was red everywhere, right? We'll see what it's like after the week. So right now, I've done my most important work. That's when I have my first meal at 3 p.m. roughly, a healthy smoothie. The thing is, I actually like doing house chores, cleaning my room, doing laundry. That was way too much. But without listening to any podcasts, it just feels like a chore. Look at it. What are you doing? You looking at memes?
Getting dopamine.
But what if there's more to our phone addictions than just dopamine? I think the main reason why I'm always so pulled towards having headphones in my ears at all times whenever I'm not working, it's just that sense that you're not alone. You're watching a video and it feels like you are there with the people and you know them super well, but they have no clue who you are, which is called parasocial relationships. It's an actual thing. It's a weak form of connection, but it is one. Being a content creator or an entrepreneur in the early stages, it's very lonely. And I notice how cutting all of that out really brings forward this feeling of loneliness. Just sitting in your room in absolute silence. Doesn't feel good. 5 p.m., second and last meal of the day. Eggs, broccoli, and ground beef. I eat the same thing every day, super easy for me. I think this is one of the most challenging times not to use your phone when you're eating. Now it's just sitting here and eating. It's almost 9 p.m. now. That's when I usually stop working. I got everything done that I wanted to get done, which is awesome. That doesn't happen every day, so I always put too much on my plate. It's 10:30 p.m. now. This is the time where I usually pop in a podcast, and I always fall asleep listening to a podcast. I don't know if I can sleep without it. I've been struggling with sleep for years. We'll see how it affects my sleep. And then, on day 2 of the fast, it finally happened. I had transcended my pathetic self. My presence was like butter cutting through a hot knife, and I finally saw the light. I slept pretty well. Damn. Did the morning routine, feeling great, very focused, creative. Now starting work right at 9 a.m. Perfect timing. Today's gonna be a good day. I usually always look forward to working out. Gives me a break from work and I can listen to some podcasts, some music. Without any of that, working out is it's pretty boring. But I'm using the time to brainstorm some ideas for new videos. Day 2 was miles better than the first one, and I wanted to take this week as an opportunity to socialize more as well. Where are we going?
A business networking pool party.
Epic. The event was good, met a couple of interesting people. I definitely feel more relaxed than I usually do, especially at this time around the day. So let's look at the other side of the argument. People saying it's pseudoscience and just another fad. And after doing some research, I found that it's just incredibly misunderstood from both sides. I watched multiple psychiatrists break it down and I understood everything perfectly.
Which goes from the ventral tegmental area. Mesolimbic pathway dominates their mesocortical pathway.
I'll try my best. First of all, dopamine detox, the name is just misleading. It's no detox, dopamine is not a toxin, it's a vital neurotransmitter. The dopamine levels actually don't change.
The dopamine detox has nothing to do with your dopamine level. It has everything to do with your dopamine receptors.
Basically, when too much dopamine is sent through neurons, the receptor, the receiving end, down-regulates it to receive less. Is that right? Just let's go with it.
Where now that my dopamine receptors are kind of down-regulated, other activities, let's say reading a book, going for a walk, start to feel less pleasurable.
So it's not a dopamine detox, it's more like a dopamine receptor reset. And by the end of this video, we're gonna see if this whole thing had an effect on my brain at all. The second misconception is that dopamine is actually not bad. It's just misunderstood, man. It's responsible for your ability to work hard, have passion, perseverance, grit, set goals, and go after them. And we also get dopamine from exercising, working on our business, hugging someone. So dopamine isn't good or bad. It just depends on when it's being released.
Nature. Come here. I said come here.
Therefore, dopamine resets are not about cutting out all pleasure. And you hear so many people in articles and YouTube videos saying that our brain is addicted to dopamine and it wants dopamine, but it's the other way around. It's not that our brain wants dopamine, it's that dopamine makes our brain want stuff. And dopamine is not really the pleasure molecule, it's the motivation molecule. It doesn't say, I like, it says, I want. So whenever you feel the compulsion to check your phone or you crave some food, that's dopamine. If you're compulsively doing something that you don't even enjoy, you know it's time for a dopamine reset. Before going on this journey, I asked a bunch of you ambitious weirdos if you wanted to join me for this adventure, and some of you were stupid enough to say yes. Why did you decide to join for this?
I've tried cutting it out so many times.
Guys get lost in it.
15-30 minutes become like 1 hour, 2 hours.
Cryptocurrency to Instagram to
Snacking or just scrolling.
Have you noticed any benefits so far?
or even on the first day I noticed it.
Totally more centered.
More present?
I feel like I'm thinking clearer.
Just talking to some of you makes me realize how common this problem is. This little slot machine that we all have in our pockets. And sometimes I wonder, if someone like Shakespeare grew up in today's time, would he have created all this great art? Like, just imagine the next Shakespeare, the next Elon Musk, that have all these incredible, innovative ideas that would change the world. But instead of getting to work, they're hooked on TikTok. How many great works of art and technology are we missing out on because of TikTok? The biggest threat to my dreams coming true, me creating the thing that I want to build, a thriving community of people that are weird and ambitious like us, the biggest threat is really social media. If I get too hooked on that thing and I continue the way I have before making this dopamine reset, that ain't gonna happen. We're wasting our lives on this shit. And who am I? I'm preaching to the choir. I know that you know that. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. But why do we keep getting sucked into it? And what's the way out?
For my work yesterday was listening to a podcast. He interviewed Mir AL. His book Indistractable is all about how to remove a lot of these forces. He mentioned that only 10% of triggers are external. So like notifications, your boss, 90% of the time we're distracted because we're uncomfortable with some sort of sensation and we're looking for a distraction from that. Boredom, loneliness, fatigue, uncertainty, stress.
How much of this distraction is just because we don't want to deal with our emotions? If distraction is always there, we can always avoid what needs to be addressed. And after time, it just bubbles up more and more. And that's why things like anxiety are a rising issue. Not just because it makes you stressed while you consume it, but also because you never address any of the emotions that are going through your body. What if it's just about figuring out, what are we trying to avoid? What are we running away from? And that's actually what we directly need to address. For example, I mentioned mine multiple times, which is the feeling of loneliness.
What you've been told.
We're heading to the Honor Gym for a morning workout.
You build men up, that's how we roll. You build men up, that's how we roll.
If you think you're gonna get away playing small, you're wrong. That's not what this place is about.
There you go.
Ice bath gives you 250% dopamine rush. So dopamine's good when you're getting it from healthy sources.
Now to some real talk though. How do we get back to normal life? Because let's face it, some of these tools are incredibly valuable, and if you want to function in society, you almost got to be part of it. But how can we use only what we need as a tool and cut out the things that are draining us? There are 4 things I'll be looking at to fight against getting sucked into internet rabbit holes. Number 1, remove temptations. Don't have the apps on your phone, keep your phone locked away from you, and install apps like Kill Newsfeed or Distraction-Free YouTube to make the apps even on desktop really boring. Number 2, define clear rules. For example, I could say I keep my phone turned off until 1 p.m, I listen to only 1 podcast per day, and also always turning off my screen at 10 p.m, and I also have an alarm set for that. And the hardest part, number 3, address the inner triggers. I know it's easier said than done, but what is making you want to get distracted? Is it boredom? Is it discomfort? Is it loneliness? Have some sort of mindfulness practice to address these emotions, to deal with them in a healthy way. It's day 6, we're nearing the end, and I'm looking forward to finishing this. These mortals, so glued to their phones. I can't relate.
I love you, dopamine!
I've always had strict rules around using social media on my phone, but I want to adjust them a little bit to really optimize them more. Number 1, I want to continue reading fiction in the evenings because I think there's a good chance that it would finally fix my sleep issues that I've been having for years. So I ordered June, which is a book by Frank Herbert. Really looking forward to that one. Secondly, I want to continue using a separate alarm that is not my phone, because then I can wake up without touching my phone at all. And in fact, I want to turn off the phone in the evening, lock it in the closet, and just leave it there until the next day after my most important work is done. And on top of that, I want to proactively schedule time when I'm going to be checking social media. And if I fall off, just continuing to get back on track again. This final day, we spent all day celebrating my friend's birthday in this gorgeous place here in Austin. People socializing, sunshine, no phones. It was beautiful, a lot of fun. Throughout these last few days, I can safely say that I felt more present, I felt more calm, and also the creativity has been slowly coming back again. And now I'm really curious to see if the brain scan shows any significant results. Here we are, after 7 days of dopamine resetting. Last time I had quite a few mistakes. This time I was super focused and much more calm during the exercise. So now I hopped on a call with Dr. Davis Brockenshire. He's looked at thousands of brain scans over the course of his career, and we'll look at the reports to see what happened to my brain.
This is your brain before the dopamine distraction. We'll notice that the back of the brain is very cold or very low voltage. You're putting out on average about 10 microvolts, a little on the low end. So this is consistent with somebody that has a lot of screen time. Our sliding scale, you can see you're just tipping outside on the anxiety box. Let's take a look at you after the fast. Voltage went up. Not bad. You've healed a huge part of the back of your brain. Now, this is exciting because this is the first time I'm seeing this as well. The reaction speed, your brain got quicker. Look what we did here. So you went into this on the verge of anxiety, and you have totally normalized your alpha waves. That's remarkable. You can't do that in 7 days. So well done. This is interesting. There's no red. Your brain is at peace. And I've never seen blue in theta. So this means your brain is extremely efficient at being calm. It seems like this is the way to go.
Wow. That's awesome. Hey there, I'm here to give you more dopamine. Check out this video here. I put a ton of work into all of them. It will not disappoint. I'll see you over there.